Now, World Intellectual Property Day will be celebrated on April 26th, which is tomorrow, and we want to talk a little bit about that. And we have with us this morning Ms. Rachel Collymore, who is a publicist and an artist manager. How are you this morning?
I'm fine, thank you. Good day.
It's a pleasure having you on to talk about intellectual property and the creative industries, which is something that we have been talking about for a while, but people seem to still need some more information as it relates to intellectual property. So from your standpoint, what is intellectual property?
Well, intellectual property rights comes from the creation of works, the value that is attached to the work that is created. For instance, in music, a person may create work and they will be represented by a respective CMO, and they will collect royalties on behalf of that work. So that aspect of it is what we'll consider as intellectual property rights, and it can translate into different types of rights under that banner.
And we'll probably chat a little bit more about that, and just to let the audience know that the theme for IP Day this year is Powering Change, Women in Innovation and Creativity, which is something that we want to get into as well.
Yes.
Why?
Yes. Because women have contributed to the landscape. As we know, even in our creative enterprise in Trinidad and Tobago, women have contributed to the mass, have created to music in a very prominent way. And I think that WIPO has recognized that, and I think they would like to showcase the works of women and keep it with equality and all of these different things. I think it's important that those achievements are acknowledged.
And you are also a publicist, a talent manager, a creative strategist. Have you been able to work with female artists?
Actually, yes, I have. Currently, I'm working with an artist called Desi, and I've also worked with Karen Maria, that's a singer Francisco's daughter. They are both singers. They work in the genre of R&B and neo soul music. So
it has been, how long have you been doing this though?
I would say for the past 10 years.
10 years. So you've been around the industry for a long time. So you've seen a lot. What have you seen? And, how has it changed from when you started to now, if at all?
Well, I would say that strides have been made to expand the industry and see the industry move forward in terms of giving more prominence to creative works. I believe that the orange economy has a valuable contribution to make in the global space, and each agency, each company, government, what have you, has a role to play. So over the years, we've seen more efforts being made to shine light on the creative industries, and that's a good thing. I just believe that now it's a time to really champion the cause for intellectual property rights and to give creative practitioners that space to create and also to get value for what they have put forward.
And do you see Trinidad and Tobago as having that space to give people the opportunity?
It's happening. It's happening. It is happening. I've seen efforts being done by the Ministry of Community Development, Culture and the Arts through their mentoring program. I've also seen other agencies try to put forward some light on that. So
work is being done, and you're seeing more and more people getting involved in the creative industries as well.
Yes. I think the conversation needs to expand a bit more.
To go where?
In terms of getting artists to understand the value of their IP. It's one thing to create, and most artists just want the opportunity to create. And I think the practitioners, each agent, in terms of the artist managers, the attorneys, the stakeholders, the whole industry needs to champion that cause. I think artists need to also understand how what they put forward is valuable and what is needed to move the conversation forward. For instance, if you're represented by a CMO, what's the role and responsibility of that CMO? How do they add value to what you have put forward? What kinds of questions do you need to ask them? What do you need to take stock of in terms of making sure that you are represented and represented well, and that you are actually getting what is due to you.
Yeah. And the CMO is the Collection Management Organization.
Yes, so we have 3 CMOs. We have CUT, we have TCCO, and we have OSAM. CUT particularly focuses on authors and composers. TCCO has been trying to champion the cause for neighboring rights. I think they have a lot of work to do to reach that point. That is with respect to performers. And I believe OSAM does a bit of both as well. I believe so. I stand corrected if I'm wrong. But I think it's important that these agencies educate their stakeholders, and also that they also represent accurately what they say they're representing. Because I've been paying attention to what they have put forward on their sites and so forth, and I think it's important that the stakeholders understand each aspect of what they are doing.
And what are the role of the CMO in the industry? What is the role, or the main role, or the roles?
Well, they act as, to use a light term, a buffer. They collect royalties on behalf of their stakeholders. So, for instance, if a radio station plays music and your song gets aired, you have some work, you have some royalties to collect from that. If in space like this, it's playing music, you have a license to, must have a license so that CUT can collect those royalties. I'm just using CUT as an example, but any CMO can collect those royalties on behalf of their members. So it's important that they have the framework in place to do that, and that the respective agencies have the respective license in order to advance the artists. I think that's what they rely on for their bread and butter. Monies from their work, their contribution, like any other job. So it's important that the CMO does their role, and also that the artists recognize their responsibility and ensure that they do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, so it is important for artists, both female and male, to have their music registered with one of the organizations.
It's a valuable thing to do, yes. Because in one case, so the CMO can, like with respect to CUT has the reciprocal agreements to collect royalties from other CMOs wherever they may be, well, with respect to the different jurisdictions that they have these reciprocal agreements with. And so a single artist may not be able to go and knock on every door and say, okay, you owe me money. So that is where the CMO comes in, yes.
So it is important for them to get it registered, and having the IP address, the intellectual property registered itself.
Well, once the work is registered, the IP is attached to that. So, and that is where you get your earnings from the royalties. If your music is synced with a film or what have you, the synchronization rights will come into that, the mechanical rights, and all of these different things are stuff that needs to be spoken about more, so that artists understand. And also, as I said, the support is necessary. The lawyers also, that the lawyers in the respective field, like the intellectual property lawyers, the entertainment attorneys, persons who are representing artists and understanding what the artist manager's role is in relation to that conversation as well, so that they have all the information that is necessary to make a valid.
Yeah, and we did have an entertainment attorney on with us just a couple of days ago, and she did get into some detail about the IP and the need for having intellectual property registered. But I also want to focus just on women in innovation and creativity a little bit. Why is it that we focus on women in innovation and creativity and not just look at it from a holistic perspective, just look at the males and females?
I agree. It's important to look at it as from a holistic standpoint. I just believe that with respect to this year's theme, it is worth focusing on women because of the valuable contributions that women have made, and also because there has been a lot of discussions in terms of women's rights, equality between the genders, and so forth. So I think this just plays into that conversation as well, and also to shine light on a possibly sensitive topic as well.
So what are some of these contributions women have made in innovation and creativity?
Well, we see it all around us. I think that women have added in terms of the be it buildings, be it what we do in our day-to-day lives, as I said, in music, in the craft. We have a very vibrant cottage industry, and women have been at the helm of those things. So they have been doing stuff. And what is also very interesting about a woman, speaking from a woman's standpoint, is that because they are involved in different things, they will have ideas that can make it better. So, and that's where the innovation comes in. And I say that for any person, regardless of gender or race or sex. Yeah.
And it is not just an intrinsic human thing, but it can contribute to economic development. If everybody, you're not just focusing on males, you're focusing on both genders, so you can have greater economic development.
Oh, definitely. I think more and more, especially in how we're saying the industry and how the economy is going, that everybody plays a role to add value to that. And maybe the conversation about innovation needs to be taken up a bit more as well, because especially where young people are concerned and how they can add to that conversation as well.
So where do you want to see Trinidad and Tobago go as it relates to intellectual property and the creative industries?
To see that it can be a valuable asset and can contribute significantly to our GDP. So therefore, it's important that we put the framework and the foundation, set the right foundation so that we can take this further.
I would like to thank you very much, Ms. Rachel Collymore, publicist, artist manager, for coming in and chatting with us about intellectual property and the creative industries. I'm sure that tomorrow, when the world commemorates World IP Day, we'd hear a lot more about it. And moving on throughout the year as well, hopefully we will continue to talk about intellectual property. So again, thank you for joining us. This is Good Morning Trinidad and Tobago. We'll take a break and come back with more.